Welcome to today's video. This is a fun one that I've been putting off for quite some time, as today's August 17th and the incident took place I think right around May 17th, so almost 3 months ago. It is time to finally get the transmission out of my 1963 Ford Galaxie. So I'm here at Colby and Louie's shop. We're going to pull it back into there. It's going to take a lot of pushing to get it in there, and then it'll be kind of interesting finagling it and getting up there, but I've got confidence that by the end of the day we will have that transmission out. I think I've got all the tools and parts that I need. Let's take a shot at it, see what we get. The air's pretty flat in here, so I'll get that up to about 20-30 pounds. That's about good. We're getting there. It's almost all the way in there. You can see just, it's like disappointing for me to look at because I was so happy with this car and then the incident took place. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it here, but it's so dirty, and it's the life of owning a project car.
The life of owning a Ford. No, I'm just kidding.
I hate seeing it in this state, which is one of the reasons that I'm so like hell-bent on getting it done today. At least getting it out. I want to see this thing driving again. Yeah, I'll get it cleaned up eventually. For now, I'm just focused on getting it running, and I'll give more of a thorough tour later. Here she is, all the way in the garage. I'm looking through the service manual, and it seems like it's pretty straightforward, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is at all going to be easy. You can also see how big this friggin' thing is sitting right in the garage. I'll give you a quick little brief rundown / synopsis of what happened with this in case you missed the last video or didn't catch all the details. I was down in Ocean City for cruising week driving this around. Things were going well. It made it 3.5 hours all the way down there. I was doing fine. It started getting a little bit hot when I was sitting there in traffic, and then one night I took it off to show it out, or took it out to show it off. Sorry. And yeah, next thing you know, my engine temperature is climbing and climbing and blasting the heat inside. It's not cooling down at all. The manual fan inside of there is not keeping up. The electronic fan is non-existent because I haven't put it in yet. And next thing you know, I pull into a parking lot and something blows out the bottom of my transmission, losing all of its fluids. So I think what happened is the engine got too hot, cycling hot fluid through the radiator, blew out a seal, something like that. They're probably original, 60 years old, something like that. Regardless. Yeah. So we have some cool literature here in my 1962 and 1963 Ford Galaxie and Galaxie 500 shop manual. You can see right here, it seems like a pretty straightforward process given that it's just this down here and then just this here to get it out. So we'll see if it's actually that simple. It says to drive the car onto a hoist, so we've already done step 1. Number 2 is to remove the 2 upper bolts and lock washers which attach the converter housing to the engine. So let's take a look for those. So I'm looking around for those bolts, and oh, you can see, dude, there's fluid everywhere down there. Holy moly. It's all nice and wet, but somewhere in there are the 2 top bolts. I think they're kind of...
The top 2 are at, like, the peak of the bell housing.
Oh, they're all the way up here?
Yeah. They should be...
Can you see them?
Yeah, there's one right here. Yeah, the light.
Yeah.
So there's one right behind this one. That's a vacuum line or whatever. It's right on my finger right there.
Okay.
Now, granted, it depends how long that is, if it's going to be hard to do, because if we back it out and it hits the firewall before the bolt's out, then we're going to have to figure out something else.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you know how engineers like to think, but...
But, granted, the bell housing bolts that I've always seen, they're usually not that long. They're probably around 2 inches, so hopefully they give you just enough clearance. Yeah. Maybe these engineers thought a little bit better than GM engineers did. When,
we got to remember, these engineers were born, like, right before World War II, so... It's been some time since this car was thought out. Maybe there's some good practice in there, maybe there's not. So Colby's jacking it up down there so that we can throw in the bottom 2 lift arms. Fronts won't go up, but the backs will. Anyways, I'm going to get working on feeling around for those top 2 bell housing bolts, since that's what it says to do, and then I'll try to get those out. I'll let you know how that goes. So I tried to clean it up a little bit. Maybe you can see it down there. Yeah, that little shiny piece right in there. Right down there. There's one of the bolts. So that's not too hateful. And then the other side actually looks like a little bit easier access. I shined it up with some brake cleaner. Good old acetone doing the work here.
It did give you enough space in between the bell housing and the firewall.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not too hard to actually get a ratchet in there or an open end and get the bolts actually out.
Of course, it's always easier said than done, but all things considered, that already takes some stress off my mind, because you remember the Subaru that we changed the engine in?
Unfortunately.
Holy moly, those bell housing bolts were...
Difference between a Subaru and a 63 Galaxie.
I wanted to cry.
I did cry.
I wanted to cry. Well, there are the top 2 bell housing bolts. They came out not too terribly. Are you trying to get the next one below it?
Yeah.
I just crack it loose. I wouldn't take it all the way out. If you can get it from up there, it recommends taking them out the bottom.
You have 2 more in the bottom.
Yeah.
You also have a starter.
That's what I mean. Just crack it loose, and then we'll get them from all the way once we're at the bottom. That's what I'm thinking will be the best strategy. Just because that's the way they suggest, at least. We are on our way to get her on lifted up. How's it look from the mounting points or lifting points? Look all right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it. I don't think we'll die.
Next step says raise the car and remove the cover from the lower front side of the converter housing. So we will go ahead and do that. Look at that suspension travel. Sheesh.
Crap.
Oh, and she has already left us a nice puddle of transmission fluid or 2 under there, so that's lovely. Not a very welcome surprise, but I mean, that's why we're doing this, so. First look underneath here. This is the plate that we got to remove, so we'll go ahead and take that out. And you can see, look at the seam of transmission fluid right there. Yeah, I was gonna say, get that ready, because we're gonna lose some here. I mean, Colby, just take a look at that. It's beat it up and ready to come off. What's that, 13?
Too loose now.
Might want to try standard size again.
Half feels better.
If you like the feel of half, I like it.
Oh yeah, half is tight.
We'll go with that then. Well, there we go. The plate's off.
Lewis.
It definitely looks like that's where it was leaking from, because you know, it's full of transmission fluid.
Lewis.
But we're getting somewhere. So presumably these are the drains up here, because this goes all the way through, which would make sense for fastening it onto the flex plate here. So we'll just go ahead and remove this one, crank it a little bit more, drain the other side. It says 2 drain bolts to get the torque converter dry, so we'll go ahead and do that. Crank the crank up front by hand, the breaker bar, lower it a little bit, and then hopefully it'll continue to be relatively painless. It never really is, but we'll see. Alright, there she is. There's the drain plug, presumably. So that shouldn't be too big. I mean, what's that, maybe 10 millimeter? Something small.
Oh, let me grab it.
Let's give that a check. Crank that bad boy loose.
Oh yeah, he's tight.
On there a little tight. Don't break it in there. There we go. Oh yeah. See, so there's 2 drains on here. This one's the one on the bottom right now, obviously, and
Smart that they have them like opposite of each other.
yeah.
No, let's just put them right next to each other.
Who knows what this is going to look like? Oh! Ah!
Sloppy.
It's red.
Got a little round.
Smells a
Yeah,
little.
it's a little bit brown.
I mean, it was when I got it, so.
That's fair. Doesn't look the worst.
See a light?
Nah, it doesn't look too bad. And I can't tell. I think that's just dirt and crap coming out of the casing there. I don't think that's
Probably,
actually.
yeah.
Because it looks clean up here, but
Uh-huh.
it doesn't down there.
I don't
so.
have any dirt.
It doesn't
Yeah.
smell burnt.
Yeah, I was going to say, it smells about
You'll
how
know
it
if it's
should.
burnt pretty quick.
Oh, I know. I've smelled a cooked transmission.
Yeah, it was in here last time.
Yeah. All right, moment of truth. Here's drain plug number 2. Let's see what we got. Anything good? Anything interesting? Anything delicious?
It's probably almost all drained.
Yeah.
Candy sauce.
I don't know if
With,
you're gonna get
with
much
how
out.
much that other one just drained out, I can't imagine there's a lot in there.
A little more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was very anticlimactic. Alrighty, well, I think the next step is to remove that tube. Let me double check on the little service manual real quick. Disconnect fluid filler tube from transmission oil pan, disconnect vacuum hose from vacuum diaphragm unit, and the tube from the extension housing clip. There's the filler tube.
Uh-oh.
That's
Uh-oh. Okay, there we go.
did it just come disconnected down there?
Yeah.
Oh! 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 How's it taste?
Burnt.
Cherry?
Yeah.
Watermelon? What red flavor is it?
It is blackberry.
Mm.
Blackberry.
It doesn't smell the best.
Let's see.
Blackberry.
Got a little bit on my hands.
It doesn't smell bad.
It smells a little bit burnt, but not like to the point where I'd be like,
It
holy
doesn't smell
crap,
like
it's
good
toast.
transmission fluid, I can tell you that.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, my whole theory with what went wrong in Ocean City is that it did overheat. And by the way it smells...
No, really?
It smells like it probably overheated a little bit, so...
A wee bit.
Whoops. It's not ideal, but...
It's kind of watery.
Yeah, honestly.
It's pretty... Yeah, it's not much viscosity to it. But then again, I bought type, I think it was F fluid for this. And
got hot.
it did
That's
seem
why it's
pretty much
thin,
like that.
silly.
The fluid filler neck is out, and that's close to drying out. We're going to start removing the other like transcooler lines up there and pull out the vacuum line for the modulator up there. I don't know if that just pulls straight out or how exactly that's removed, but we will get on to figuring that out. We're starting to remove the starter as well. It's just 3 bolts that hold that in, I believe, and then the actual ground up there, so it's getting there. Slowly but surely. We might have to drop it a little bit to hit the bolts that are above it as well on either side, just because that is a very awkward spot.
So I have a half on the nut and then a 14 on the adapter. So I needed the adapters on it, and this is the one I had for back there as well. So I had a half and a 14 for that one.
Kind of see it up there. We just spray the crap out of it with brake cleaner and just get the threads clean because they were so packed with gunk and crap that they didn't want to move. He's got a better grip on that than I did, so it doesn't really want to move.
There we are.
They're very tight on there, as I would kind of hope they were.
So long,
That's what I was gonna say.
And then we'll want to plug these off or put tape over them.
Yeah.
So we don't get any dirt in them.
And then I got a flashlight in my pocket, so I'll pull that out to
gotta
show
get the
you.
shifter bracket off and then the drive shaft.
You can see where the starter went. It's no longer in there. As the starter is quite the big boy, and it's sitting over here. So that's, for my hand size comparison, that's a big boy. I mean, I got little baby hands, but there she is. So brake cleaner's been our best friend, and some penetrating oil too, just to get everything cleared off as much as possible.
I tell you this, but I put sand in your gas tank.
Of which car?
This one. I said it would help clean it.
Yeah.
Alright, so shifter linkage is out up here, speedometer cable's up here, so those are out. We have the transcooler lines that are out here now. We're taking out the bolts that actually secure in this back part of the transmission. Making progress, slowly but surely. Drive shaft time. Nope. Watch out before it swings down on your head and kills you.
It's not going to.
Like, this right here explains why the exhaust sounds so good. Because this is as much of a muffler as you got.
The glass packs.
Yes, sir.
Muffler?
We're slowly but surely getting there. I pointed out the speedometer wrong earlier. This is the speedometer right here, the little linkage at least for it. So
You might want to pull that drain back below the outlet shaft.
yeah, that's a fair point. Let me get it over here.
The last thing you want to do is mess with the speedo cable.
Yeah. How's it coming?
I got it. Just getting bolts out. I got the drive shaft.
You got him?
Yeah, I got it.
Got it? Schloop. You hear that noise?
Yep. Flunk.
Mmm. Dinner.
Dinner.
That was surprisingly dry in there.
Do we can go pole vaulting now?
It's on the end.
That's true.
Oh, okay, it's on the inside.
Now we'll change out that seal before it goes back in too.
Yeah, it was already. You could already tell it was slightly leaking.
Yeah. So we got that out. We got these out here. We're getting pretty close. We're taking out flex plate bolts right there. They're actually held into some studs that run through the torque or flex plate there. Colby's dropping the bolts. He's scurrying after them and eating them.
washer.
Sorry. Washer, I hardly know her. But anyways, we're taking these off now, slowly cranking it around piece by piece, and we'll remove those. I think there's 4 of them. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I lied about the whole objective of this video. We're actually unboxing this Pittsburgh 800-pound capacity transmission jack, so we're gonna pop it open and see what we got inside. Be brand new. We're dropping her on down. We got the transmission jack all assembled over there, so we're gonna get it up, get it slightly set to fit the transmission. We've got all of the bell housing bolts loose at this point. We've got the cross member loose and ready to move, so it should just be as simple as throwing the jack underneath, tightening everything on, throwing the chain on top, and then getting the last bolts all the way around there and just pulling it out. So theoretically, we've done all the hard work already. It should just be in and out from here, which I hope that's the case. And then hopefully once it's off, I see something easy that needs to be replaced, but knowing my luck, it probably won't be. Car's all lowered, and we're trying to figure out this parking brake situation to get that off of there so that we can move this cross member. You said you did take off the cotter pin?
I had to take it back off, yeah.
Yeah, so will it slide, or is there something else holding it? I don't know if it's attached back here.
I really don't even know. Is that on thread?
Is it unthreading somehow? Because it slides through here. See if it'll slide into there without the pin on, or is it still got that bushing right there? If that bushing blocks it, it won't go through.
On the inside.
I don't know, this is bizarre. Here's the cable right here that we took out for the parking brake, so it disconnected from the cross member, which is now up here. We're not going to go disconnecting any of that because it really doesn't need to. I don't even know how well you can see it on camera, but we're getting the last of the bell housing bolts out now. You can see the
last one out on my side.
They're hand tightened up here, so I'll go ahead and take this out, and then this is supporting the pan right here. The jack is at least.
Should come out.
Yeah, should theoretically come right out, so we'll see how much that doesn't happen because it never does. I mean, it seems like it's going all right. We'll put this in with the other bell housing bolts, and should be just one to go. I've got skinny little arms, so I'll stick them up there. We're at the point now where we've got the transmission almost off, but the flex plate won't separate from the torque converter, which is kind of awesome. The studs in there, I don't know if they're holding on, but we've been trying at this for like the past 20 or so minutes, and we're not really getting anywhere. As you can see, it is dark out, and as you can see, I have a headlamp on. I think it's been about, I'll put a timestamp here for how long it's been. It's probably been, yeah, 2.5 or 3 hours since we started on this. It has been a pain to get this thing out, but we finally did get it out. The big problem was those torque converter studs that you can see right there. They were moving freely in there, but that pilot bearing was hugging onto that center little piece of the torque converter there. And she didn't want to move, so what I ended up finding was the baller strategy, the winning lottery ticket here if you want to try this yourself. I sprayed an astronomical amount of PB Blaster in there, and then I stuck an air shim on either side of two of the studs on there, expanded it to max capacity, took it off, rotated it, expanded it to max capacity, rotated it, expanded it to max capacity, and just kept on shimming around one by one around it, and then eventually put a big wedge screwdriver in there and gave it one good crank, and it was able to pop it right off. It was a very satisfying pop, but that took me 2.5 hours to figure out, and everybody online was giving different type of advice and stuff. I didn't want to pry too much against the torque converter, but it's ended up working, so there we go. Da 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 da. Oh. Taking the dog for a walk.
Come on, boy.
There she is, the old 3-speed. Whew,
Today's speed.
That was ridiculously difficult for whatever reason it was, but
well, nothing else was other than getting that out.
That's what I was gonna say. It was relatively painless, minus the last 3 hours of that. But you can see, I mean, you see where it's seized on right there. Take off the torque converter, and I don't know what all. That's definitely not factory if it's got all those marks on it.
I'm just looking at the splines in it.
Yeah, but that's definitely not its first torque converter. Take a look inside and see if we can see anything in that seal. So torque converter's out. That seems to be okay. I'm looking inside and down here, and you can see there's little bits of crap just everywhere in this stuff that's forming this sludge.
It might be from...
Could be the pump, could be the seal. I don't really know.
The splines look okay.
Yeah,
so
that all looks all right. I don't know how well you can see, and I'll try to zoom in the camera right there, but there's little chunks of seal all up in there. That seal is 100% cooked, and whether the pump is or not, I don't know.
Well, this is your seal. Your pump is behind it, so it's probably part of your pump.
Yeah, but it's just there's crap all in there, so it
definitely needs taken apart and looked at.
Yeah, it's not going to be a quick little in and out job. Actually, it could be. I don't really know, but I've already made the executive decision that I'm not doing the work on this. I'm just going to be the guy that pulls it. I only know transmissions so well, and I know how to remove one, and that's about it. So I've done my part here. I'm going to look around. I'm going to see who in the area can do transmissions at a reasonable cost, but actually knows how to do them well, because while I do think that I'd be able to figure out how to do this, my goal here is to do this once and to never have to do it again. So, like I said, she's out. That's good progress.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, there's the unit, and all of its entirety. We've done the first hard part. The second hard part is paying for it. And then...
The third part hard is putting it back in.
Exactly. So we're about a third of the way there now. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the torque converter doesn't look like it's cracked or anything. There's definitely no signs of foul play there that we can see, at least. I don't know how I feel about how this all looks, but who knows. I'll leave that to the experts to figure out. I'm gonna wrap up the night here by getting this all bagged up into some contractor bags, because at some point or another I am going to take that out to get serviced. Like I said, my goal is to have it done right, and done right the first time, so that I never have to do this again, because this has been a pain, and I don't want to have to keep on pulling the transmission on like a yearly basis or something, because that would suck. It's later in the night, and we have the garage all cleaned up now. Once again, one last look. Got some metal shavings up here, so I'm certainly concerned as to what the findings might be. Couldn't really see too much in here besides a little bit more metal shavings and whatnot. But there's the transmission taken out of my 63 Ford Galaxie 500. There is the little story that I gave you on how I think that blew in the first place. It doesn't look 100% ideal, but you know what? You live and you learn. We're going to get her all fixed up.
That's alright.
I don't know where I'm going to take it yet, but once I have that sorted out and I have it fixed up, I'll shoot back with another video. It is August 17th, and I think it blew out on May 17th, like I said earlier. So it's been almost 3 months. It has taken me that long because I've had a super busy summer, but now the summer's coming to a close, I'm starting to get things like that sorted out. Glad to finally get on this. That'll be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully more Galaxie content, more promising content, and it driving once again will be coming soon. Thanks again. Peace.